Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and you are very welcome to this cactus video. Oh yes, I've received a box of fabulous, wonderful 14 cacti from cactiireland.com, a wonderful, wonderful website which you really should check out. Now, if you have watched my videos for a while, you'll recall that 2.5 years ago I received a box from Cacti Ireland with 13 glorious rare cacti, some I had never even heard of before. And today, well, you know, 13, unlucky for some, but today I've got 14 cactuses. So let's unbox them. I'm going to pot up some of them, and at the end of the video I'm also going to give you an update on the 13 I received 2.5 years ago, because it's not all about unboxing and getting new things. It's probably even more important to see that we can grow the things that we already have. Okay, let's open the box. I am really excited about these cacti because there are some really rare and unusual ones in here. And actually, you know, if you don't know much about cacti and are a little bit afraid of them, then perhaps this is a good video to watch, because we're going to get some that are quite easy to look after, ones that will flower regularly in a home environment. And yeah, I'm all about that. Oh, let's get stuck in. Okay, so unwrapping the first one. Whoa, look at that, look at that. This is a Cantocalcium, a globular cactus native to Argentina, and it features a green to bluish green body covered in sharp greyish spines. We can see that the label says Acanthocalycium, but this is a prime example of the confusion caused with cacti, not only changing their species name, but also their genus name. So you can find this under Acanthocalcium griseum, but also I think the correct name nowadays is Echinopsis thionantha, making life oh so confusing for us growers. That is one handsome cactus. It is spiny, but can you imagine that in a pot? It's going to look fantastic. And this, what's this? Okay, so if you don't know cactiireland.com, you really should check them out. They have amazing selection of rare and unusual cacti, and they ship within Ireland and Northern Ireland. So, wow, what's not to love? I've had plants from them a few times besides what you've seen on camera, and always the quality is so lovely. They arrive super quick too. What is this guy? Oh, this is a pretty little cactus, but it's a classic for hipster cactus collectors, and it really is one of their favorite genera along with Ariocarpus. So ranging from dark grey to bluish green, and from the size of a coin to that of a small car, Copiapoa have thick dark spines along their geometrical ridges. They come from the dry coastal deserts of northern Chile, particularly the Atacama Desert. And it is a geophytic cactus with a large tuberous root. In their natural habitat, plants receive very little actual rainfall in most years, surviving instead on the frequent mists that drift inland from above the cold ocean. Now, I've read that these slow-growing cactuses, they grow just 1 centimetre a year because they subsist on the kind of like a spray that's in the air from the sea, and it comes in on a breeze called a Camanchoa, if I'm not mistaken. So an amazing, amazing little cactus, and of course very popular in the news, because we all heard earlier on in the year about Operation Atacama, where a load of these Copiapoa cactuses were discovered in the apartment of an Italian collector who had poached them illegally in Chile and trafficked them also illegally and brought them back to his apartment because, well, you know, he sold some of them and he was also just a genuine collector, although genuine isn't really the kind of word you want to associate with somebody who's doing something terrible like this. But anyway, he was prosecuted, or is being prosecuted. But the plants, these plants are really, really loved by collectors. A fantastic, rare and unusual plant. That. And first one for me. Now I'm going to have difficulty finding a pot that's deep enough for this big root. Young Copiapoa can be watered as usual, but once the plant gets big, then you really want to spray a fine mist over it. And this emulates what it's used to back home in the Atacama Desert, which is exactly the opposite of how you normally water cacti. Okay, let's go for this one next. And these are all beautifully wrapped, taking a while to unfurl them. Woohoo! Ah! Oh, wow! Look! Ariocarpus. Look at that amazing wool in there. Hey, hang on. This is also a hipster cactus. Look at that. I absolutely love this species of Ariocarpus. I've got a big thing for Ariocarpus, but yeah, the little wall bit in the middle, so fantastic. And look at the side. Look at the side. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And I hope you remember my video about the Chatuchuk market in Thailand, where they had a lot of very unusual plants, and they had an Ariocarpus like this that was this big. It cost about 50 euros. I couldn't of course buy it. About 50 euros, but it was absolutely amazing. And it was gone when I came back to look. Not that I was going to buy it, but we were all very interested in how quickly such rare and unusual plants sell. And this one, it's fantastic and beautiful and quite a bit bigger than the one I have already. So I'm delighted with that. This is like the best kind of lucky dip. Just so many amazing pigs. Look at the size of this. I don't know what it is, but it's a big one. Let's get that wrapping off. And of course, Cacti Ireland, they send things out in the post very, very quickly. Jurga posted this to me yesterday and I received it today. So that's just amazing. Gosh, this one is prickly. I can tell this one is prickly. Notocactus, otherwise known as Parodia. This is a silvery spined cactus, often clustering with showy yellow flowers if treated well. Next, from the box of goodies, we have a slightly smaller one. They've all been really big size so far. Ooh. Whoa. It's a Haworthia. Oh, look at the size of that. You may know that I love Haworthia and have a little collection. I adore these South African plants from the Southern Cape provinces, which have small rosettes of succulent foliage. Often the leaves have translucent tips or light pipes that allow light to enter into the leaves, and the leaves are often buried underneath in the sand, so the light goes in and allows the leaves to photosynthesize. Now, like aloes, these plants require some shade, and you've all seen the greenhouse videos where I put a shade cloth over my Haworthia and aloe collection in the summer when the sun is at its highest. I can't get over the size of these plants. Thank you so much, Jurga. Absolutely delighted. Look at this place. It's like Halloween has come early and I'm dressed as the mummy. We'll just go with it, shall we? Okay, what have we got next? Another big one. Okay, unwrap. It's another Haworthia. Look at the size of that. And the fantastic roots on it. Gorgeous. Shall we take off this scarf? Let's put that down here and get on with the fun. Oh, there's no space anymore. I can't open anymore. Let's see. I have something really quite big here. Oh my God. Look. Look at this. What is this? It's spiny. I'll tell you that for nothing. I'll just be a bit careful as I unwrap this one, shall I? Oh my goodness. Ow. It's a nice kind of ow though. Oh. I think I'm going to put it down for fear of doing myself an injury. Do you see that brown at the base of the cactus? Well, that's something that comes about with age. It's called corkiness and it's absolutely nothing to worry about so long as the cactus doesn't get mushy. Mushy is rot. Age is something we embrace with both arms. This is a cactus, a large barrel cactus from Mexico. It could live more than 100 years. Well, let's get on with it. And we have a small one. And I don't know about you, but oops, I hope I'm not covering my mic now with my Halloween costume. But cactuses are generally very small, and when they're grown in captivity in a home environment or a greenhouse environment, they stay small for a long time, especially if you don't water them. But we all should water them, and we all know in the summertime to water them once a week. So it's just such a treat to see such decent sized cactuses. It's going to be a pleasure to pot these up and have them in my clay pots and add them to the collection and for them to just look like something substantial. Now this little fellow is, oh, woo, more of a normal size, one might say. I've just looked at the label and this is Echinopsis ishtar. Echinopsis have been hybridized for a long time, I think from the 1930s, and there are a lot that are known as the Schick hybrids. That's a German name with an SCH in there. This is one of them called Ishtar, and when I saw it on the website, because Ishtar is the name of my eldest child, so I had to have this. And you know, the great thing about the Schick hybrids is how easy they are to flower, and they can flower for such a long period of time. They can flower several times in a season, and with age they can produce greater numbers of flowers. So the first flush of flowers is typically in April, with successive flushes occurring in May, June, July, and in some hybrids even into August, September and October. Ishtar produces flowers that are approximately 12 centimetres or 4.5 inches wide. Flowers are pink to orangish pink in colour and strongly ruffled and crinkled. Okay, let's go back in here. Do you ever feel exhausted sometimes from so many treats, from so many good things? Well, I'm feeling like that now because this is some amazing haul. I can't believe it. Here's another one that will add to my Halloween costume. Don't know what it is yet, but a more normal size. Look at that. It's like a little foot coming out of the paper. Like the mummy's foot coming out of the bandages. And here it's grafted. So it looks like a crestate plant grafted onto, let's just add to my costume, grafted onto something else. And sometimes plants are grafted because they only have wimpy rootstock themselves that's a bit difficult to manage in cultivation. Like for example, something with a very long taproot might be grafted onto a cactus that doesn't have such a very long taproot because it's difficult to manage a long taproot in a pot. Cresting, of course, is a genetic defect that makes the plant grow in an unusual way. That's considered very attractive to us collectors. And if you want to know more information about that, then I'll link at the very end to a video I uploaded recently on saving crested cactuses. Next up, we have a Gymnocalcium. Now, you may know this genus because it is really quite easy to grow and easy to flower. Relatively rapidly growing as well. And if you're a beginner, then do look out for Gymnocalcium, a fantastic one, and it's so rewarding to get those flowers in summer. So rewarding for those who are fed up with cacti that never flower. This one will flower for you. Getting near the end. Oh, look at that. Look at those rabbit's ears. I know what this is. This, I bet, is Astrophytum medusae caput. Named because it has these tentacles that are reminiscent of Medusa's hair. And we all recall how Medusa had a head of hair of snakes, not hair. The most unusual Astrophytum that's quite endangered in the wild and quite hard to spot in the wild because it grows in at the base of bushes apparently for shade. And there we go. And yes, it is grafted. These are very often grafted, and that's because they produce a very long taproot, which is difficult in cultivation. And look at that weird thing. Isn't it amazing? Very happy to have this one in my collection. So weird, so wacky, so wonderful. And so mine. So 4 more. And we will just give this one a bit of an unwrap. So this is another one of the Schick hybrids, unless I'm very much mistaken. Yeah, this is the one called Sleeping Beauty. So another one that's going to flower for ages and ages and ages and look fantastic. And orangish flowers and of similar size and ruffledness as Ishtar. But we will just put it over here with her. It's hard to have enough space in here. Okay, next up. Ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Look at that beautiful smoothness. First things first, let's add to the gear and then I will show you. Look, this is a very attractive shape and a kind of shine to the surface, almost glossy. So the label says Gymnocalcium. Doesn't seem like a Gymnocalcium to me, but also I just recounted the cacti and there is 1 extra. So there's actually 15 here. So maybe that one's extra. This is Coryphantha. It's a Mexican cactus with large dark green tubercles rounded on top. And the tubercles axis is woolly. Now we have to be very nice to this cactus because the description says it's depressed. Are you ready? Are you ready for the last one? I think we need a drum roll as I unwind this. Let's see if we can get one. And here we go, here we go. Astrophytum! Yay! I am such a big fan of Astrophytums, and this is one of the spineless ones. This Astrophytum is regularly confused with Myriostigma, as the two look similar to each other. This one, however, possesses a 5-ribbed structure, as opposed to the 4-ribbed structure usually found with Myriostigma. Okay, so it's time to pot up these plants, and I better just make a bit of space because it's such a mess here, but it's a wonderful, wonderful mess, and I have all these beauties to pot up. Now, I had planned on using little teeny tiny weeny pots, as you do with cacti, because cacti are always teeny weeny, but these ones, my God, they are brutes. And it's lucky I do have some nice big pots to pot them in. Clay pots are the ones of choice really for cacti. And in anticipation, I have already made up a mix. My mix is 1 part potting compost, 1 part horticultural sand, and 1 part horticultural grit. Now, you could use pumice or perlite for this, and I'm going to use this mix for the majority of the plants. And I'm going to start off with the Copiapoa because I found 1 pot that is quite deep. Here's my Copiapoa, and I think this will go in here quite well. So we're just gonna put some of the mix at the base. Position it down. Okay, now no water. This is important. No water for cacti after they've been repotted. You need to let them sit for a week. But mine are already dormant for winter, so I guess they're just going to sit for a long time. And now I'm going to put the big boy into the big pot, and I do have a little thing to place at the base of the pot just to stop the sand coming straight back out again. It still has holes in, so it's not going to block it. And I'll just rescue some of the tissue paper from the floor to be able to position this cactus without losing a finger. There it is. Okay, so let's now go and have a look at the cacti I got 2.5 years ago, and let's see how they're doing. For updates on the 13 cacti I got in February 23, we need to go into my greenhouse. As you can see, the greenhouse has been bubble wrapped for winter, an insulation method just to keep the heat in. The majority of the cacti have remained in this greenhouse from summer 23, unless otherwise stated. They're watered weekly from April to the end of September, and given a quarter strength fertiliser every couple of weeks from May to October. They're kept bone dry from October to March and at a 5 degrees centigrade minimum, which is 41 Fahrenheit. First up, we have Ariocarpus, a tiny little cactus, which was repotted in June 24, so a year after I first received it. But I think it does need a slightly bigger pot than I'm giving it at the moment. And there is a bit of a problem with plants that produce long tap roots, finding a pot that's deep enough, yet not too wide. The second plant I want to show you is the Puna, and it's in its original pot. This too needs potting on, but it's doing well. Over here we have my Ariocarpus, and this is quite a tall plant with lots of fluff on top and spines. Now, at one stage this became top heavy, which was an indication that the pot it was in was too small, so I had to repot it. That was in April 24, and since then it's put down new roots and done really well. This tiny little dote here is Frailea, and it's in its original pot. This is doing fine, and I'm glad with that. It is just so dinky. It did get a spot of mealybug just at the end of summer, and I treated it with isopropyl alcohol on a paintbrush, and it seems to do okay since then. The lithops are over here, and these are doing okay, not great. I won't say I'm the world's expert when it comes to lithops. I think you know you're doing great with them if they flower, but also if they produce a new leaf from inside the old one. And that didn't happen this year, so they just kind of stayed the way they had been. Normally lithops, they'll open up, a new leaf will come up, and then the outer one will eventually wither and die away, but that hasn't happened for me. These ones I water less than the other cacti, so maybe every 2 weeks. And I guess I repotted them in July 24, mostly just for aesthetics. So it seems that these plants are in quite a deep pot, but we do have pure clay pebbles, large clay pebbles. I guess each pebble is about as big as a single lithop, about halfway up the pot. And these are potted in the special 90% inorganic mix that we used already for the Turbinocharpus. This spiny fellow here is the Ferrocactus in its original pot. I think it needs potting on, and I think this tried to flower for me. I'm not exactly sure, but I think so. This is really interesting over here, and here we have the crestate euphorbia I received originally. Now, I did receive two. One was teeny tiny and one was normal size, and I put the teeny tiny one in this teeny tiny little pot, and just look at the difference. The teeny tiny one has outstripped the parent, which is really a good indication for using pots that aren't too big. Overpotting is the death of so many plants. I'm really pleased with the shape of this little one, and I think the parent one I'm going to repot, maybe in slightly a smaller pot, but I'll wait till spring for that. Over here we have one of my astrophytum, and this one is called senile or senile. I don't know how you pronounce it, but this one flowered for me in August 24. A beautiful flower which I'm putting up on the screen now. And it has attempted to flower several times since then, but unfortunately I've lost the buds. And if we look very closely into the centre, it does seem that it's trying to flower yet again. The second astrophytum that I received is a more typical one, I guess, Myrostigma over here with its 4 ribs. And well, this has done really good. Repotted July 24 like many of them, and this one flowered in July 25. A lovely, lovely cactus, highly recommended. But there were 2 more cacti who didn't do so well, and they died on me. The first was the grafted Ariocarpus, which a slug took a shine to. Now, I have some hardy slugs in my greenhouse because this slug shimmied up the Myrtillocactus that the Ariocarpus was grafted onto, got to the top and took a great big bite out of it. And the other one that died was the Avonia. So I must confess, I just couldn't get the hang of how to water that and killed it in the end. Now we need to go inside to see the final 2 cacti from last time round. And the first is kept over here with a couple of other little precious things that I daren't leave out in the greenhouse. So this is the variegated euphorbia. Now this was potted on unboxing last time, 2 and a bit years ago, and the pot I put it in was a little bit too small. In any case, I immediately repotted it, took it out of what it had been in and put it in a small clay bowl, which is where it has spent the time since. Now this cactus was outside in the greenhouse for the first summer, but then I brought it indoors and it has stayed in here indoors ever since, which isn't really a great idea. It's one thing to bring something in for the winter, but if you don't put it out again in the summer, then it lacks a lot of light. And in my case, it also lacks feeding, because the feeding happens in the greenhouse. So if the plant isn't there, it tends not to get fed. Anyway, this euphorbia is looking really good, and the two little babies are hanging in there looking great as well. And my final cactus is Ariocarpus, yes, one of the hipster ones. So this was repotted in July 24, so roughly a year after I got it. It spent the winter indoors, and that was because I loved it so much and I couldn't bear to risk it out in the greenhouse. But now that I have a second one, I will certainly leave one of them out there in the greenhouse and hope for the best. And in other notes, it did shrivel a bit last winter and needed some little water before March, so I gave it a dribble of water before the magic date of March, when we all start re-watering our cactuses again after winter. And that brings us to the end of this fantastic cactus unboxing video. Big thanks to cactiireland.com. If you're in Ireland, north or south, do check them out, do buy from them. Do tell Jorga that I sent you. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.